Welcome to Kanerika's podcast, The Digital Shift. Um, Imagine driving a massive fleet of 18-wheelers across the country.
Okay, I am picturing it.
Right. So now imagine every single truck's warranty expired yesterday.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and the manufacturer just announced they are no longer making spare parts.
Yeah.
And on top of that, half the engines are starting to smoke.
That sounds like a complete logistical nightmare.
It is. I mean, you might be able to keep them running for another 100 miles with duct tape and sheer willpower, but eventually, the maintenance costs just skyrocket.
Right.
The breakdowns become catastrophic, and very quickly, the risk of operating those vehicles vastly outweighs the convenience of just staying on the road.
Yeah, that is a perfect analogy. And that exact scenario is what is happening to enterprise data systems right now across the board.
We are looking at a landscape where the expiration clock on legacy systems is just ticking incredibly fast, isn't it?
It is. That is the reality facing almost every enterprise data team today. We are seeing major industry-shifting events that are forcing immediate action.
Right. These aren't just hypothetical future scenarios.
Exactly. They're immediate operational pressures. For instance, Salesforce has officially closed its acquisition of Informatica.
Wow. Yeah.
And SQL Server 2016 has entirely lost its extended support.
Which is huge, considering how many companies still run on that.
It is everywhere, and it doesn't stop there. Qlik's Open Studio, they no longer offer a free tier.
Right.
And SAP BusinessObjects 4.3 maintenance officially ends this December. So the manufacturers are definitively turning off the lights on these legacy engines.
Well, let me play devil's advocate here for a second.
Sure, go ahead.
So the warranties are expired. Why not just keep driving? I mean, if the system still processes the daily reports, why should a chief information officer authorize a massive migration project right now?
Well, because when the manufacturer stops supporting the core engine, the entire business logic running on top of it becomes a massive liability.
I see.
Yeah, if you stay on an unsupported platform, you are completely exposed to security vulnerabilities that will simply never be patched.
Right, which is a terrifying prospect for any enterprise.
Exactly. And you are also forced into paying these exorbitant premium fees for custom extended support contracts, literally just to keep the lights on.
So you're paying more for a worse, less secure product.
You are. And it fundamentally stifles any future innovation because your engineering team is completely consumed with legacy maintenance. They spend their time doing that rather than building new capabilities.
So because that expiration clock has run out, organizations are basically forced to make a choice.
Yes, they have to choose a path forward. And realistically, there are 4 doors they can walk through at this point.
Okay, well, let's examine those 4 doors because they definitely are not all created equal.
No, they are certainly not.
The first door is probably the most tempting for an exhausted IT department, which is just to stay put.
Yeah, the path of least resistance.
Right. You just absorb the risk, pay those custom support fees you mentioned, and cross your fingers that the server does not crash during the end of quarter financial close.
Which is financially dangerous. I mean, it is a ticking time bomb.
Definitely. So what is the second door?
The second door is to rebuy the category.
Okay. What does that mean exactly?
It essentially means moving to the cloud-hosted version of your current legacy vendor.
Ah, I see.
Yeah, you might solve the immediate technical support issue, but you have essentially just bought the exact same problem with a brand new invoice.
So you aren't actually modernizing the architecture.
Exactly. You are still locked into an isolated, fragmented ecosystem that does not natively communicate with the rest of your modern infrastructure.
Right, which usually leads companies to door number 3, which is assembling a best-of-breed stack.
Yes, the classic best-of-breed approach.
Where you go out and buy one highly specialized tool for data extraction, another completely different platform for data storage, a third tool for transforming the data, and a separate application just for visualizing the dashboards.
That is the one.
But wait, isn't best-of-breed supposed to be the gold standard in enterprise tech?
Well, it sounds perfect in theory, but in practice, it results in a permanent integration tax.
An integration tax?
How so? When you buy 5 different platforms, they do not naturally speak the same language.
Oh, right.
So your highest paid data engineers end up spending roughly 60% of their week just fixing broken application programming interfaces?
Wow, 60% of their week.
Yes, just maintaining the fragile connections between all these different vendors. They essentially become full-time plumbers instead of data scientists.
Okay, so if duct taping 5 tools together drains our engineering talent and staying on the legacy system is a security nightmare, The alternative has to be total consolidation.
Exactly.
And that brings us to door number 4, which is moving everything onto Microsoft Fabric.
That is the door you want to walk through. Consolidating on Microsoft Fabric is strategically and financially superior because it fundamentally changes the architecture.
How does it change the architecture?
Well, it takes all of those separate workloads, the extract, transform, and load operations, the data warehousing, the business intelligence, and even the artificial intelligence workloads,
Okay.
and it merges them into a single unified capacity model.
Right.
You are no longer buying disjointed tools. You are buying compute power for a fully integrated ecosystem.
Let me make sure I understand the mechanics of this, because the core mechanism making that integration possible is OneLake, correct?
Yes, OneLake is the absolute foundation of it all.
Because traditionally, if a company wants to analyze data, they have to make endless expensive copies of it.
Exactly.
Like you copy it from the source to the warehouse, then you copy it again to the visualization server, just so different tools can read it.
It is incredibly inefficient.
So does OneLake actually stop that duplication cycle?
It entirely eliminates it. OneLake acts as a unified storage layer for the entire organization.
So everything just lives in one place?
Exactly. You store the data exactly once in OneLake, and every single analytical engine inside of Fabric can query it directly in place.
That is incredible.
Yeah, you eliminate the storage costs of redundant data, and you eliminate the engineering time required to move it around.
Which solves the plumber problem.
Precisely. And the market adoption reflects just how powerful this consolidation is.
Oh, really? How fast is it growing?
Microsoft Fabric recently surged past a $2 billion annual revenue run rate.
$2 billion. Wow.
Yeah, and they boast over 31,000 customers, and the platform is growing at 60% year over year.
That level of adoption is critical.
Mm.
Because it means an enterprise is not acting as a guinea pig here.
Right. The ecosystem is heavily supported and rapidly maturing.
But, let's ground this in reality for a minute. Mathematically and strategically, Fabric makes sense as the ultimate destination. But the biggest financial hurdle in any migration is the journey to get there.
Oh, the migration phase is always the hardest part.
Right, because if I have thousands of legacy pipelines built in Informatica or SQL Server integration services over the last decade, my IT budget will evaporate just paying engineers to manually rewrite that code into a new language.
That manual labor is the silent killer of modernization projects.
It really is.
And this is exactly why we at Kanerika developed the Flip Accelerator.
Right.
Our team recognized that the manual translation of highly complex legacy logic is the absolute bottleneck of any enterprise migration.
Because humans are just too slow.
Exactly. You simply cannot achieve a positive return on investment if humans are doing the translation line by line.
We should detail exactly what Flip handles, because the scope is substantial.
It is very substantial.
So the Flip Accelerator automates conversions across 16 specific migration paths.
Yes, 16 different paths.
And this includes complex legacy platforms like Informatica, Alteryx, IBM DataStage, and SQL Server integration services.
Exactly.
It takes the proprietary code from those older platforms and automatically translates it into native Fabric pipelines. But how does it actually process that conversion without hallucinating or breaking the business logic?
Well, the engine powering Flip operates across 5 highly structured stages.
Okay, let's walk through those.
It begins with the discover stage.
Which does what exactly?
Instead of relying on a human to manually click through the old system and document what exists in a spreadsheet, which is how things usually get missed, the accelerator connects directly to the source platform.
Oh.
And it automatically inventories every single pipeline, table, and dependency.
So after the system discovers what actually exists, it moves into the assess stage.
Yes.
And this is where the accelerator assigns a specific complexity score to every single asset.
Exactly. And that scoring system is crucial.
Why is it so important?
Because it allows our team at Kanerika to build a highly accurate, defensible scope of work before a single dollar of the budget is officially committed.
Right, so you know exactly what you're dealing with before you start paying for the actual work.
Precisely. From there, it moves to the convert stage.
Okay, the actual heavy lifting.
Yes. This is where the Flip engine auto-generates the native Fabric pipelines and data flows, mapping the existing business logic directly over to the new architecture.
And how much of the work does that actually cover?
It successfully automates 70 to 80% of the manual conversion work.
That is massive.
It is. But the true differentiator, the mechanism that actually allows an enterprise to sleep at night, is the fourth stage, which is validate.
Yes, I want to push on this validate stage
Okay, let's get into it.
because it tackles the ultimate trust issue. As an IT leader, my biggest fear isn't really the code translation, it is data integrity.
Absolutely.
If a financial report is off by a single decimal point post-migration, people lose their jobs.
It is a massive risk.
Traditionally, a company would assign data stewards, basically unfortunate analysts, to stare at screens and manually verify millions of rows to make sure the old system matches the new system.
Which is incredibly tedious and prone to error.
Right. So how can we possibly trust an automated engine to get the math right?
By entirely removing the human from the validation process.
Oh, really?
Yes. The flip accelerator answers the trust issue by reconciling the newly converted output against the original source system row by row.
Wow, row by row.
Yes, it runs a parallel comparison to ensure absolute data parity.
Okay.
It automatically checks row counts, verifies complex checksums, and eliminates the massive risk of human error that always occurs with manual validation.
Because, like you said, a human cannot reliably verify 10 million rows of financial data.
Exactly. A human cannot do that. The engine can.
Right.
And only after it achieves absolute mathematical validation does it move to the fifth stage, cutover, where the transition is finalized with a complete, immutable audit trail.
Okay, so we use automation to eliminate the manual labor and ensure the math is perfect.
Right.
But labor is not the only cost in a migration. Time is a massive factor.
Time is definitely a huge factor.
Every single month a migration drags on is a month where you are bleeding capital.
Absolutely.
What happens when a modernization project takes 2 years and the company is forced into paying for the legacy system and the new Fabric platform simultaneously?
Well, that is what we call the dual run overlap.
Okay.
And paying for two enterprise-grade platforms simultaneously is entirely financially draining.
Picture in my head.
You are paying the massive renewal fees for your legacy system while also paying for the new Fabric consumption.
So how do you stop that?
To stop that financial drain, you must compress the timeline. And that brings us to the second cost reduction lever, which is utilizing a highly compressed 4-phase rollout approach.
How does that rollout physically prevent the endless parallel run?
By structuring the deployment into strict waves. We start with discover and assess, moving immediately into the prove phase where a representative slice of the data estate is converted and validated.
Okay, so a proof of concept, essentially.
Right. Then we execute convert in phases, prioritizing specific high-value workloads.
Got it.
And finally, the cutover phase. The critical detail here is that this phase structure ensures the legacy license can be completely shut off the exact day the final wave goes live.
Wow, so you do not maintain the old system just in case for another 6 months.
Exactly. You turn it off immediately.
So we stop the bleeding by turning the legacy system off on time.
Yes.
But aren't we just trading one massive bill for another once we are running entirely on Fabric? How do we control the ongoing consumption costs?
That perfectly highlights the third cost lever, which is consolidating the platform run rate.
Okay, let's break that down.
Once you are fully on Fabric, you are no longer paying separate, disconnected bills for different compute engines. Traditionally, an enterprise pays one vendor for data integration compute, another for data warehouse compute, and a third for business intelligence capacity.
It adds up fast.
It really does. Fabric replaces all of that, or with a unified billing model based on overall capacity units.
The specific financial mechanics of this unified model are fascinating.
They are very unique.
For example, enterprises can utilize a 1-year capacity reservation, which secures the necessary compute power at a significantly lower rate than a standard pay-as-you-go model.
Exactly, which saves a lot of money up front.
Furthermore, you consume zero capacity units when refreshing a direct lake model.
Yes.
Let's unpack that concept using the explain like I'm 5 rule.
I love that rule. Go ahead.
So, unlike traditional systems that physically copy data into a new, expensive database just to analyze it, Direct Lake acts like a transparent window.
That is a great way to put it.
It lets the analytics engine look directly at the data where it already sits in one lake, meaning that refresh operation essentially costs you nothing in compute overhead.
That is a perfect explanation of Direct Lake.
Thank you.
And perhaps the most impactful financial mechanic for controlling the run rate is the 24-hour smoothing window for usage bursts.
Tell me about the smoothing window.
Well, enterprise data workloads are inherently spiky.
Right?
You might have massive, resource-heavy batch processing running overnight and very quiet periods during the afternoon.
It operates very much like a modern smartphone data plan.
Oh, exactly like that.
Think back to the early days of mobile internet. If you tried to download a large video file, the carrier would immediately throttle your bandwidth or charge you an exorbitant overage fee the exact second you hit a peak usage threshold.
Yes, it was incredibly frustrating.
Right. But a modern optimized data plan looks at your average usage over the entire billing cycle.
Exactly.
Fabric's 24-hour smoothing window does the exact same thing for computing power.
It does.
It averages your heavy usage spikes over a full day, meaning you do not have to purchase a massive, incredibly expensive capacity tier just to handle a brief 2-hour spike in overnight processing.
Exactly. That smoothing feature alone saves enterprises a tremendous amount of ongoing operational expense.
Because you aren't paying for the absolute peak.
Right, because you are buying capacity for your average need, not your absolute maximum peak.
Well, that makes total sense.
Now, even with highly optimized timelines, automated conversion labor, and a consolidated billing model, there is a fourth and final mechanism to dramatically offset these migration costs.
And that is securing direct investment funding from Microsoft.
Yes, it is.
Microsoft is highly motivated to bring enterprise workloads onto Fabric, and they have structured very specific funding programs to facilitate that transition.
They do, and they are incredibly valuable.
I understand there are two primary routes to secure this funding.
Yes.
The first is the partner-nominated route. This seems ideal for organizations that might not have a deep, pre-existing relationship with the Microsoft field team.
Exactly.
A qualified delivery partner can initiate this funding request on their behalf based on the technical scope.
Correct. The second route is the field-nominated route.
How does that one work?
This leverages end customer investment funds and is generally utilized for larger, highly strategic accounts that already possess a dedicated Microsoft account team.
Okay, so a bit more direct.
Right. Both routes, however, can provide substantial funding across several crucial phases of the migration journey.
Those phases typically include envisioning, where the potential business impact is mapped out.
Yes.
Assessing, where the technical scope and the complexity are firmly defined.
Correct.
Deploying, which covers the actual heavy lifting and execution of the migration.
Right.
And a final phase called adopt and skill.
Yes, all four are critical.
But, I have seen companies think they secured this funding only to lose it entirely.
Oh, it happens more often than you would think.
What are the specific pitfalls here?
Well, Microsoft's approval process is strictly enforced, and there are formal rules of engagement. Microsoft's strictness here isn't just arbitrary bureaucracy. They want to prevent vaporware deployments.
They want to make sure the platform actually gets used.
Exactly. They want to ensure they are investing in actual, active consumption of Fabric, not just paying for a shiny new tool that sits entirely empty.
Right. So how do you lose the funding?
You will lose the funding if you estimate the scope poorly before giving formal customer consent.
Because the budget is locked.
Yes,
Right.
because the budget is permanently locked based on that initial scope.
Got it.
You will also lose the funding if you fail to formally document and sign off on the completed work within the strict 90-day claim window.
That is a tight turnaround. And there's a massive timeline trap regarding the commercial contract, isn't there?
Yes, there is. This is the most important warning.
Okay, what is it?
If you sign a binding migration contract with a partner before securing the official funding approval from Microsoft, you entirely invalidate your eligibility.
Wait, really? Just by signing early?
Yes. If you sign the commercial contract first, Microsoft views the migration as a done deal.
I see.
They no longer need to incentivize you to move. The funding must be formally approved before the commercial commitment is signed.
That is a critical sequence of events to get right.
It absolutely is.
I want to circle back to one of the funding phases you mentioned a moment ago, which is adopt and skill.
Okay, sure.
Why do enterprise leaders consistently focus so heavily on funding the technical architecture of the migration, but completely neglect to fund the training for the analysts who actually have to inherit and operate the new system?
It is a systemic blind spot in IT leadership.
It really seems to be.
Far too many leaders view a data migration as a purely infrastructural exercise, exactly like replacing the plumbing in a building.
Right. They think as long as the water flows, the job is done.
Exactly. But Fabric fundamentally changes how analysts interact with data. If you deliver a state-of-the-art platform, but the data analysts do not know how to leverage Direct Lake or build semantic models, the business value of the entire migration drops to zero.
And just to clarify that for our audience, a semantic model is basically the business logic layer.
Yes,
That
exactly.
it translates raw, complex database tables into understandable metrics like total regional sales or monthly churn rate so the business users can actually make sense of the data.
Precisely. If the analysts cannot build those semantic models in the new environment, the system is useless.
Right.
Utilizing Microsoft funding specifically for the adopt and skill phase ensures the human element of the transition is given just as much priority as the technical element.
So bringing all four of these cost reduction levers together gives an enterprise a truly comprehensive strategic approach.
It really does.
You automate the manual translation labor with Flip. You compress the dual run timeline to stop paying for two platforms. You consolidate the ongoing compute costs with 24-hour smoothing, and you offset the initial capital expenditure with Microsoft funding.
As we emphasize to our clients here at Kanerika, Microsoft funding strengthens a business case that already needs to work without it.
Right.
The automation from Flip and the architectural efficiencies of Fabric must be the core foundation.
Absolutely.
This is exactly why our team offers a 30-minute migration cost assessment to evaluate an organization's specific data estate against these precise levers.
That assessment is crucial for setting a realistic roadmap.
It is the first step.
And preparing that modern architecture is what ultimately enables the next generation of business capabilities.
Absolutely.
Because we at Kanerika are currently deploying highly advanced autonomous AI agents across these modern data environments.
Yes, our team is doing some incredible work there.
We have agents like Carl, who constantly analyzes massive data sets to deliver rapid business insights.
Right.
We have Ember, who automates complex, multi-step customer service operations.
Yeah.
And Clara, who ensures everything occurring within the system remains within strict compliance and governance architectures. But the key here is, none of those intelligent, autonomous agents can function on a fragmented, legacy data stack.
They absolutely cannot. Those AI agents require the unified, governed, and highly performant foundation that a platform like Microsoft Fabric provides.
It is non-negotiable.
It is. The modernized architecture is the mandatory prerequisite for the artificial intelligence. You cannot build a skyscraper on a cracked foundation.
Which leaves us with a broader, highly provocative implication to consider.
What is that?
If autonomous AI agents, the tools that will define enterprise competitiveness over the next decade, rely entirely on a unified, modern data architecture to function, is delaying your infrastructure migration today actually putting a permanent ceiling on your company's AI capabilities tomorrow?
That is the exact question every enterprise leader needs to be asking themselves right now.
Thank you for joining us on Kanerika's podcast, The Digital Shift. We hope this strategic blueprint serves your organization well.
Thank you for joining our discussion today. Our team looks forward to guiding you through your next modernization initiative.